Welcome back once again to the Mandalorian After Show. This is Sean.
This is Chris.
And Christopher,
There we
again.
go. And he took the lead this time.
Yes.
Awesome.
Christopher is back to join us for the return of Christopher to talk about
There
the
we go.
return, the finale of season 3 of The Mandalorian. We've been here all season to discuss the season.
The ups and the downs, the ebb and flow
Yeah.
of this season.
I'm just
And we'll
happy
talk-
I came in towards the last two, right? Like that's good for
Yeah.
me. I don't have to drag out some of the conversations I'm sure you guys had. So
Yeah, some of our shows been like 15 minutes for this. So
yeah.
What do you guys think? What should we start with overall thoughts?
no, let's just go right down the road. Just this episode alone, and then when we're finished, we'll go ahead and say our thoughts on the season as a whole.
All right.
So I'll go ahead and I'll start.
You go ahead.
My first impression of this episode, I was whelmed. I think that's what I told you. I was just whelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed. I wasn't underwhelmed. I was like, this is one of the few episodes I've now watched twice because I wanted to see if there was a few things I caught I didn't catch the first time, and it was just kind of like this episode was there for me. That's probably the best way I can say it. I like how they wrapped a few things up. Gideon, I like seeing what we've seen with him, the planet, the caves, and how the planet's basically reforming and basically recovering itself, basically even all the way back to when they were in the domes. So there was a lot of good things about it. In no way do I think the Darksaber's gone. I don't buy that one bit. I think it's just going to change forms. But that was just me. Not overwhelmed, not underwhelmed, just kind of there.
Okay. What do you think, Christopher?
Oh man, I loved it. I mean, from start, I mean they picked it up right where it left off, and we had no idea. The whole world didn't have any idea how it was going to end, what was going to happen. We had Thrawn theories, we had Mythosaur theories, we had all kinds of Rebel theories, and I think it was a good conclusion to the season. I love how they ended it. I love how we have more questions now. What's going to happen? Chris, you're a big animated guy, so like some of the scenes, just I felt like Rebels and Clone Wars came to life with some of the fight scenes we've seen with those. And I was standing up half the episode. I loved it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think last week when we were giving our expectations or what we were hoping for out of the finale, I said that I really wanted it to focus on the Mandalorian and not so much just be a platform to introduce Ahsoka stuff. And that's exactly what it was. I mean, we got zero Ahsoka stuff. It felt very much like a Mandalorian season finale that wrapped up almost 3 seasons of the Mandalorian. It felt almost like a series finale, especially when they did the little, outro shot of Mando and Grogu sitting at home relaxing. It felt like a pretty solid ending.
It felt like it was like goodbye.
It did, yeah. So, and then I guess I could have used just a little bit more, like maybe a stinger at the end, or like maybe a mid-credit sequence or something that could have just been totally like, Thrawn or Ahsoka, or just something that, I don't know, just a little teaser that could have given us something more, but not necessarily be where, Ahsoka happens to show up at Navarro and help save the day. Nothing that elaborate.
Yeah.
Are we getting greedy and spoiled, do you guys think? With all this awesome Star Wars stuff coming out, we just expect more and more and more?
I don't. We're getting a lot. I don't know if spoiled's the way to put it, but I think we expect there's a standard.
Yeah.
There's a standard. I think it should be better than good. It should be It should be in that like range, because definitely if they can write books that are phenomenal, and I know book form and TV and movie form, it's a completely different way of telling stories. But if you can get such good stuff there, they can translate that into at least above, I don't know. Yeah.
For me, it's the writing. I mean, for me, it's the writing. Like, you can have stuff. So when you can put out stuff that's, as good as Andor, right? As far as that show was like HBO level quality, like intrigue. That's
a whole different culture to me. Like, that's a whole different vibe.
Yeah, it is. It's a whole different vibe. But even so, like, you can have that same kind of adventure, like the way season 2 ended. I mean, everybody was like just floored by how season 2 ended, and everybody was talking about it. Everybody was just like, and wasn't necessary. It was the Luke stuff, but it was also the stuff of like Din taking off his helmet and the scene of them saying goodbye. Just like, what does
Yeah.
this mean for the future? It felt like it had a real impact, and they did a bunch of stuff with these last 2 episodes, and it almost felt like it was just like too much. They were just throwing as much as they can as far as just like ending a lot of the plot threads throughout not only this season but the earlier seasons, just the Bo-Katan stuff. And I don't know, we established and set up a new Mandalorian culture and took back their home planet in 2 episodes. And this episode was only like what, 35 minutes?
Yeah, this is one of the shorter ones of the season because we were getting accustomed to longer and longer episodes, which was throwing me off because typically I watch them on my lunch break.
Yeah.
But when they're 45 minutes long, I got to get creative on my lunch break now.
Yeah.
I liked where they ended up, and I liked the conclusions to a lot of these threads and a lot of these plot lines, but I wish it could have been divvied out in a better way as opposed to us just kind of scratching our heads for most of the season and then the final 2 episodes just being like, okay, well, here's everything.
Well, here's the question. Did this season set us up in the way it ended for a long gap between seasons now? Because basically what they did is they hit the reset button. They put Din back on Navarro. Where we first now it wasn't where we first seen him, but that's where he wound up after getting his first bounty, what we seen him do. We have everyone basically back to square one in their own stories, all separate. They're all separate now. And it's like, okay, we know Din's gonna go ahead and or Jaren, whatever we're gonna call him, because Din, I guess, is a surname. Is working for the New Republic in a case-to-case basis setup, or however you're gonna be doing it. And then all the Mandalorians are back on Mandalore, rebuilding the planet there with the Mythosaur just lurking. So we don't know what's ever going to become of that. So it felt like to me like they're setting up with us knowing that there's a movie and things coming that's going to wrap up this time frame. There's going to be a long period of time before we get another season, even though it's already written.
Yeah, that's the way it felt to me. It felt like they were setting up for either a Mandalorian comic book series or a Mandalorian video game where you start fresh and you open up with them on their homestead and then something happens and they are doing adventures together, him and Grogu. Like, it felt like very much like there was no cliffhanger. It was very much like this is a, fresh start, new beginning.
An open world video game.
Yeah, or if they don't do anything like that, we just re-follow up with them with whatever this movie is. I feel like, either at the end of Ahsoka or end of whatever show, however they lead into this movie that Dave Filoni's doing, they'll just pick Mandalorian and Grogu up from Navarro and be like, hey, I need your help. And he'll be like, let's go. And, that's
journeys.
They're just like putting him in place to be picked up later. Yeah, that's what it feels like.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him in Ahsoka. I don't know how the time frame's going to work because in the time period in Ahsoka, but maybe they're both Ahsoka's chasing a lead of Thrawn and Mando's taking out that lead as an Imperial person, and they meet up. But like you guys said, it's wide open right now.
I hope they do some time hopping, honestly. Like, I want to see some gaps filled in Ahsoka's timeline because she's been around for so long, and there's rumors that Hayden Christensen is going to be in the show again. So I hope they do some flashbacks, kind of the same stuff that we had, some of the more favorable stuff in Obi-Wan, some of the flashback stuff and filling in some of those holes. So I'd like to see some of that. That would be cool.
So what do we think about the we're all kind of like got lost here.
Yeah.
The Darksaber. Now I've heard some theories, and there's one that I really like about the Darksaber. The hilt's broken. Darksaber's not gone. Let's just say what it is. The hilt's broken.
Yeah.
You can rebuild it because the Darksaber isn't black and all that because of the hilt. It's because of the actual kyber crystal that is forming the blade.
Oh, you can rebuild that for sure.
Yeah. But what if that kyber crystal falls to Grogu? And when he's forming his first lightsaber, he actually uses that kyber crystal, and that blade is basically reformed in his lightsaber.
That would be neat, I guess. Yeah, maybe I guess it would take a Jedi. Does it take a Jedi to create and restore a lightsaber hilt? I guess maybe because it's pretty intricate, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what really goes into building them. I think anyone can truly build them.
You guys remember Luke's lightsaber in that last series? It just magically came back after being broken when it got into Rey's possession. I mean,
Oh yeah. Last Jedi, what it like split in half or whatever during their
Yeah.
fight, right? Yeah. And then she had it again.
And then we see it again. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
It's more the kyber
Reaching.
crystal
Yeah.
than anything. It's like anyone can truly build one. It's the kyber crystal that makes the lightsaber. So
I hated seeing it, like just crushed and then dropped, and then I even looked for it when they were fighting. It was just still there. I think it's gone, but I hope it comes back. I love that thing. You guys know that. I mean, I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Oh, so you think maybe? Well, they could go either way. Either Bo just picked it up before they flew out of there, or it's in the wreckage of that that ship that crashed down or something, or it's like gone buried.
City that was a mess.
Yeah, so they can honestly go either way with it as far as its fate, and I feel like you wouldn't destroy it, you wouldn't crush it unless you had plans to like eliminate it from the table. You know what I mean? Like, if they're just going to come back a story or two from now and it's rebuilt and now it looks a little different, but you still got the Darksaber, then why crush it at all? You know what I mean? Like,
what was the point?
Yeah, I feel like as far as writing goes, there's no real point to doing that. So,
well, I mean, it falls in line right now. If we're being honest,
that's it's a fair point. I know.
It's a good story, a good like plot point in this episode to go ahead and disarm Bo.
Yeah,
for Moff Gideon to be able to fight her.
Right.
But with Grogu there and putting up his whole field to save everybody, who says, it wasn't picked up in that period of time, or it didn't get burnt up within, the wreckage, the fire wreckage.
Yeah.
So we don't know where or what happened to it from that point.
The other big question from this episode that I've seen a lot of people say is that the Gideon that died is really a clone of Gideon, and the real Moff Gideon's still out there somewhere.
His mustache.
Yeah.
God, I hope not. Okay, so I want to ask you this: was Gideon a good villain for this? I would argue no. I
like Gideon as a bad guy. I thought he played a really good bad guy.
I don't feel like he was like ever anything to be scared of. Truly, he hung out in the shadows. We've seen him more in his second season when he had his Dark Troopers. He was more ominous there. In this season here, we really had two run-ins with him, and one of them we ran into him. He had Beskar armor on that had like hydraulics in
mechanized,
it. Mechanized, yeah. So I'm like,
it reminded me of the Dark Trooper, because the Dark Trooper he made was like droid, right? So it's like he's got this Mando Beskar droid super suit, right, with him in it, running it like almost like Iron Man. I like the idea of it. I thought Gideon was a pretty good bad guy. I mean, I was scared of him.
I like him. I think there is a failing of this season. I think it's another failing of this season to just kind of tease him throughout the whole season and then just dump him the last couple episodes, because it felt, I mean, that goes with the rest of the show. I felt like it was a little rushed. Like, I loved Gideon. I preferred him in the second season. I felt like he was more of a threat. He was more established from that run-in where he just appears, with what he appeared like at the end of season 1, right? Like, that was the final shot.
He knew everything
last episode,
about everyone, and we learned
I loved
Ben's
that
name.
mystery. Yeah, exactly. I love that mystery of him having the Darksaber. Like, who the heck is this guy? Like, standing on top of that tie. Like, what a shot. Like, whoa. And not only that, it's Giancarlo Esposito. Like, holy crap, we're in for it. And then season 2, it did a good job playing into that. Like, he was menacing throughout the whole thing. It established the Dark Troopers and what a threat he was, and kind of filled in some of the things as far as why he was looking for it. They built some mystery around like the cloning, and like, this guy's like, he's got a good hold as far as his little sector of ex-Empire. He's doing pretty well for himself, and he's a definite threat. And it felt good as far as like the only people that were able to take him down at the end of season 2 was this entire group of like between the Mandalorian and blah, blah, blah. And like that whole pack that was there. And then really Moff, might have even won the day if Luke Skywalker himself didn't show up. You know what I mean? So it's like, so that felt right, and it felt okay. And then this season, it was just, we didn't get him until the last 2 episodes. And then there was all this, like, he's in a kind of a mech super suit, which some of that stuff was pretty cool. But I just wish we would have spent some more time with it to establish it a bit more, as opposed to just kind of like I said, like just kind of dropping it on us. That's the failing to me. That felt like I like the character.
Mythosaur or more mechanized Mando suit, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh, the mythosaur too. It's like it's another thing that we teased more of. But I like the tease with that because that's such a large thing for their culture.
Yeah.
yeah.
I would not have liked that honestly if we just would have like, oh, okay, all of a sudden the mythosaur is here and it's doing its thing. Like that would have felt too much.
I like that
Yeah.
little like nod to Grogu looking down at the water and
Yeah,
pointing.
I
And
like that
he knew
tease.
it was there. Like he sensed it was there because he had that. It's the same thing that connects back to the Purgle. He was
Yeah.
able to connect with the animals, so he was able to connect with the mythosaur.
And
So
you
he
feel
knew
like
it
the
was there.
mythosaur felt him too. Like
Yeah.
there was
Oh.
connection there.
There's a
Yeah.
connection there, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So I thought
I
that was
think that
cool.
was done well.
I like that rather than him coming up and bursting out of the rocks and
Right.
making some like King Kong or Godzilla type of appearance.
Yeah.
Just kind of laying low. I like that.
What are overall thoughts on Bo-Katan for the season, as far as like her story throughout and where she landed?
Once again, I'm just kind of whelmed.
Yeah.
I think the season as a whole, I mean, they were tracking in the right way. Honestly, they ended the season well. Season episode, was it last episode, and this one was at 7 and 8. We are
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
They were good, but 2 episodes doesn't make up for a bunch of up and down and roller coaster ride, essentially. And I think her story, like Sean, you were saying, Sean, the writing felt weird to me. The writing
Mhm.
felt off. She felt too depressed all the time, or just kind of like "woe is me" type, until things started rolling. And when she actually was like backed by Din, when he said, I got your back, that's when you felt that confidence come up, and all of a sudden she is who she is.
Mhm.
I don't seeing how she was introduced in season 2. I didn't buy the "woe is me" act for as long as it was.
What about you, Christopher?
I think, like, I agree with you. It was kind of rushed. Like, she's sad, alone, princess in her castle. Her people left her. She doesn't have the saber anymore. Blah blah blah. Din's like, "Hey, come on." She's like, "No." And then Grogu comes back, and she's ready to fight Din, but Grogu's like, "Hey, we need your help." And then she goes and saves the day. And then there's this connection built. I mean, you guys both know I love Clone Wars and Rebels, so just seeing Bo-Katan as much as possible gets me excited. And they nailed it. Every time she takes her helmet off, her armor, the way she fights, the way she uses the dark saber. I think her, like, I don't know what the correct terminology is, but like her story from going down in the dumps to like the hero and the leader of Mandalore was again rushed. But it's an 8 episode
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
I do think they should have aged her a little bit, because I feel like her and Dan look like they're the same age, right? And she's got to be at least 15 years older than Din. That's my only complaint about her. But it is what it is. She looks. I mean, yeah, I think they nailed it.
She's doing good for herself.
I know that's one of those things like in Star Wars, where everybody complains about like Alec Guinness and how much older he is than you and stuff too. But it's like, he was living on under the twin sons of Tatooine
Right.
for a bit. That ages you. Maybe if she's in spaceships now, maybe you age pretty well when you're just aboard a spaceship for years and years. I don't know. People age differently in outer space, but yeah, I agree with that. Like, as far as her introduction, it was way back in the Clone Wars, so she should have a little bit more age on her. Maybe throw some streaks of gray in that red hair of hers.
Right.
But yeah, as far as her, I love her as a character, and I keep saying like I love Katie Sackhoff as I know she's loving playing the character, so I get a kick out of seeing her playing the character. And I feel like, Christopher, you mentioned it. I feel like if they were just like a couple more episodes, maybe in the middle of the season, if this was a 10 episode season instead of 8, where you could have had a couple in the middle there to maybe bring Gideon in sooner to flesh out some of his progress and maybe get a glimpse of like his progress and his establishment there. Maybe not even reveal that he's on Mandalore itself, but actually see his base, like, oh wow, he's got this going. And then in the finale being like, oh my gosh, he's actually on Mandalore. Like that would have hit harder. You know what I mean?
Well, even the episode when they bombed her castle, like, why not show him like showing up there?
Right.
Why wasn't he in one of the bombers?
Yeah, I get the suspense, and
that would have felt better. And I could have used more conversations between Bo-Katan and the armor. Like every time that they talked, I was like, I was all ears.
Yeah, that was intriguing. Every time that they had some type of conversation, it was you were locked in on it.
Yeah,
and that's truly some of the only times that you really had to be locked in on anything that took place.
Right.
same relationship though. I mean, in eight episodes, it went from, oh, that's a cautionary tale to like,
Right.
hey, you saw the mythosaur, you're gonna lead us, and she can
Right.
she can walk both ways, right? And it's like, I
That
get it.
could have
She
used
saved
a couple more
Ragnar.
conversations.
She did a lot,
Yeah.
but still, it's just kind of like almost rushed. I don't know.
Yeah. If even like Bo-Katan had that confession about what really happened privately with the armorer, initially, when everything went down during the Night of Thousand Tears or whatever, just something to connect those two more and to actually have like honest conversations, like that kind of stuff went a long way. But at the same time, like, I don't know, that's almost not the kind of show we're getting. You know what I mean? Like Mandalorian is kind of the old timey, like old fashioned Western adventure show where it's each episode is like a different flavor of things, different planet. And it's weird because I feel like they have a tough time balancing those two things sometimes because they want to go back with the success of that first season where that's very much what it felt like. It felt like every episode's different and you could almost like a Gilligan's Island kind of like push the reset button with every episode, right?
Yeah.
But and then season 2 had like an arc that played throughout the entire season and it was a journey. And I think they were trying to do both with this season. It just felt a little muddled because of it.
Yeah, that didn't work.
I think the next season, I think they could really do kind of like that true bounty hunter, like almost like a Nazi hunter, right? Like going through and just finding these guys and
ex-Empire.
Yeah. I would love that, but we'll see.
Who knows? I know.
Well,
they keep saying how they want
to they go too, because
Yeah.
also we may start seeing First Order form, and he's stumbling upon remnants of the forming of that, which would be fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
I also like I can't remember what was it called, the Shadow Council with all the former Imperial. It'd be cool to like just see him learn more about them and then like taking them out too, or maybe even seeing them kind of depending on the Ahsoka timeline where they jump in and jump out, just learning more about those 5 to 6 different people, and kind of like where their whereabouts and how they're surviving and the warlords they are.
Yeah, something I thought was fun in this episode here is they finally paid off the whole Moff Gideon Grogu storyline.
Mm-hmm.
They finally gave it to us. I mean, we weren't sure exactly what they were doing. We knew that we figured they were doing something with cloning, and then we finally see the Gideon clones in the tubes. And of course, Din Djarin just blows them all up, which proper thing to do. But someone's really pissed off about it, and so let's take a look at that here.
My clones were finally going to be perfect. The best parts of me, but improved by adding the one thing I never had. The Force. I was isolating the potential to wield the Force and incorporating it into an unstoppable army. And you smothered them before they could draw their first breath.
That was the only time in this season I felt he was ominous.
Yeah.
That was it.
Did you guys get me recording when I called him cloning himself, or was that after we stopped recording?
Oh, I think you said that during the show.
Yeah, we had a long show. We had a lot of theories thrown out. We had a good time that last episode.
One out of 20 is okay. I'll take that.
Yeah, 1 out of 20 is good.
That was a direct hit, though.
I missed everything. I fanned on every idea that I had out there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else as far as the season went. Were there any like memorable scenes with this episode that I'm forgetting?
Some of the funny ones I liked was when Grogu saves Din in the hallway.
Yeah,
he starts spraying him in the face because he thinks he's hurt and he's trying to heal him. I thought that was hilarious. It's just funny because you have like these action-packed scene and like that happens, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Praetorian Guard. I feel like they dumbed him down because Din is not the fighter. Was it Pazvizla? Yeah,
Paz-Vizsla. Yeah,
Paz-Vizsla was, and Paz-Vizsla got whooped by the same 3 guys. And yes, he had a little bit of help from Grogu in the Force by pushing some of the weapons away. But they went from 3 badasses to almost 3 schmucks. So I feel like we got. I don't under. There was.
I paid attention to this, and what I liked about it is you do see a lot more ducking and weaving from Din than you did Paz. You know, Paz is a big, bulky guy. Because I don't even think Din had anything to fight him with until he got his blaster and he like shot the first one. But you do see him like before they corner Grogu, he's like ducking and diving and weaving, and then Grogu gets like cornered because he's like no, whatever, and then I think Gideon like ropes him up, and then they take him in the hallway. And I thought that was it for Grogu. I was like on the edge of. I told you guys I was standing up. I was like, no, like come on, stop.
I thought it was funny watching Grogu jump from point to point. That just made me
he
smile.
laughs. He laughs at one point when he's like doing a backflip or something. Like I have the closed caption. It's like laughs or giggles. And I was like, what? He's just like jumping around.
You can't get me. I'm the gingerbread man.
Yeah.
I just knew that he had, storyline armor. Like you're not going to kill a baby in the Mandalorian. Baby,
Oh yeah,
you're
no,
not going to kill your cash cow. So as soon as he entered the room with those 3 Praetorian guards, I was like, oh, you guys are in trouble. This is not going to work out for you. But yeah, it was. I buy it because I think you're right. Like Paz Vizsla went at them. You know what I mean? There was no defense on Paz Vizsla's part. He was like, ready to go out, and he was like. Yeah, as opposed to Din, who was doing a lot of ducking and weaving and trying his best, and he had the assist from Grogu too, so he was able to last a bit longer. So I ended up buying that. But I mean, it is a bit jarring to see them so badass last episode, and then for them to be like chasing a lightsaber around and fumbling and stuff.
Yeah, I'm still having a hard time suspending the belief on that one. There, that one bugged me a little because I liked how badass they were.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want to see dude die, but I at least wanted to see more of a fight this time, or have an assist come in to help him get through that fight there. And just that's the one thing that really didn't truly sit well with me in this episode. But I mean, the majority of it, like I said, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good finale. I honestly did. At the end of it, I felt like, that was good. That was a good Mandalorian adventure, and it felt like a good finale because I like where everybody landed, and I like the thought of the Mandalorians actually being together. Maybe this is a fresh start for their people, and like that's what we're all kind of rooting for. And it felt good, but then at the end of it, it's just like it didn't feel good enough to cure some of the missteps that I felt throughout the rest of the season. That's where we were kind of like waiting with bated breath. Like these last 2 episodes can maybe kind of pull it all together and make it feel like the whole thing was worth it. And it didn't quite get there for me. But I know that's, it has to do with a lot with the production and stuff, behind the scenes stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that's the reason why the episode count was cut short. And they have all these other plans. That's why they introduced some of those New Republic. They had that other show about the New Republic pilots or whatever that they totally scrapped. And I think they brought some storylines from that into here. That's why we got that one Carson character a couple episodes, which that was jarring too, because that should and could have been Cara Dune. You know what I mean? If everything was okay in the world and she didn't go off on Twitter, then that would have felt even better. You know what I mean? That would have felt more cohesive with the seasons 1 and 2, and seeing her character now as a New Republic person coming to their planet and asking Din for help and that kind of thing. Like that would have felt more in line with the other 2 seasons. But yeah, it's like as far as just ranking the seasons, it would be my least favorite out of the 3. And I thought this was a good finale, but it just didn't do quite enough to make the rest of the season more enjoyable.
Well, last season's finale set the bar so high. There was no achievement.
Yeah.
Like you said, the whole world was talking about it.
Right.
Season 2 alone. I mean, even if you took Luke out of it, the characters we got in that season was just like...
Yeah, we got the the introduction of Ahsoka in live action.
Yeah,
that by itself set a lot of the Star Wars fan base.
Boba Fett. I mean,
Boba Fett.
It was Boba Fett before the book of Boba Fett, which ruined him.
We actually got badass Boba Fett rather than I am Boba Fett,
like a panther.
I think that's one of my favorite episodes is when he gets his armor back on and he's just annihilating.
Yes, it felt so good. Yeah.
I'm so like I'm moving on from this season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see me revisit. I haven't revisited any of the actual Disney Plus shows yet to go back and rewatch them. But I'm sorry, my son's watching the crew game, and I know something just happened.
You're distracted.
Yeah, I'm a little distracted because we were losing when we came back here. So, but
Well, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for stuff that's coming out. Like I know, like Andor was very much even Andor season 2. Frankly, like Acolyte, Andor season 2.
The way that they ended Andor, the post-credit scene where they showed what they were making in that prison, and they were actually putting together the pieces for the Death Star.
Yeah.
That stuff I want in Mandalorian. You don't have to give me that high level, like, because they're two different shows. Like you've said before, they're two different shows.
Yeah, tones.
But give me some of that production level.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're showing me you can do it. So just do it.
hey, live action Zeb looked really good.
Yes,
We saw
he
him.
did.
I mean, come on. I mean, they killed that one. That was spot on.
That was one of the moments I went, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did. It just, but then looking back, it just felt like, even at the time, he was like he had maybe 30 seconds of screen time, and it did feel like it was just a test to see if they could put him on screen, and then like, okay, we can. We're good to move these effects, this render over to Ahsoka, and it'll be fine. Like it just felt like weird to introduce him in that way, and then not see him the rest of the season at all. But that's what it felt like. This season was just kind of like, let's throw it at the wall, see if it sticks, and do some things that we need to put people in place by the end of the season. And that's all it kind of felt like. It didn't feel like a cohesive story,
Yeah. I wish we got some more background too. Like I would love to know more about Gideon, like his background, the armor and her background. Even like, at the end when she's like, you'll take Grogu on his journey like your person took you. I'm like, well, who is Din Djarin's person?
Who's his
like,
person?
was it the armor? Like, was she his person? Maybe. Like, we don't know.
Well, they briefly showed him at one point earlier in the seasons, like when they opened up basically the storm cellar and they picked him up. And yeah, it wasn't.
It was like the Death Watch, like the blue Beskar suits, right? But we don't know if that was a person that like really like adopted him and
took him on. Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
So I also hated seeing sorry, Sean, seeing Grogu getting adopted after like Ragnar's like he has no parents now and he just gets baptized and then they're like, hey, Grogu, by the way, I'm adopting you. I was kind of hoping the Axe Wolves guy would adopt him or bring him under his wing or something,
Yeah, that would have been nice. That would have added like literally 10
maybe he's
seconds
of age
to your episode. Yeah. That character felt important, right? As far as like maybe they'll bring him back in the Rey timeline or something, as far as that kid being a character down the line.
I found out that's Jimmy Kimmel's nephew or cousin or something.
Really?
Yeah. I was just doing some like Easter egg stuff. I did like it though because his family name, the Vizslas, like his great grandfather was like the original, ruler, and then he's the first person to be baptized on Mandalore after they retake it. So that was kind of a cool, like, deep emotional thought.
And you're right. And his father didn't live to see him get officially, entered into the creed and stuff, which I feel like we got little hints of a larger character down the line with that. And honestly, there could be some future interaction between him and an older Grogu, They already had that little matchup earlier in the season as kids.
The rivalry was born.
Right? Yeah. Mandalorian babies. We mentioned earlier as far as fleshing out Gideon's character, and I just had the thought like it would be neat if like we saw his inspiration as far as like the whole cloning thing. Like what if you were talking about him being a former Mandalorian at some point? Or even considering himself a current Mandalorian, and maybe he's just in the Empire and he considers himself a Mandalorian, right? Or he was actually of the Mandalore bloodline, from people of Mandalore. Maybe at some point he found out that the clone troopers were all based off this one guy, this Jango Fett guy that was a Mandalorian. And he's like, if it could be done that way, like, let me perfect it and let me do it my own way. And like, you got success from the clone troopers that eventually were a part of the Empire. Let me, kind of take the baton at this point and do my own thing with that. Like just seeing a little bit more story. Yeah. And now,
or maybe like Mandalorians destroyed his village during a war or something. They just hated him and wanted to ravage war against him. Yeah.
It's just, with just a little more explanation as to why he's got such a, why he's so
hatred
out
the
for.
Mandalorians.
Yeah, that would have been good. But and I don't know if we get that. And I kind of hope we don't at this point. I hope he's dead.
Yeah.
I do too. I
Well,
really
there's a
do.
thread they left out there that they never returned to. When the New Republic officer found that ship that he escaped from with the Beskar armor that was in it.
Yeah.
They never returned back to that. So the New Republic is supposed to believe that, the Mandalorians had nothing to do with breaking them out.
Was that
Did they cut it out though? Because then Din shows up at the bar and he's like, "Thank you" or whatever. So did they just? I guess we just assumed they found out and it's all done.
Just a plot hole, really.
Yeah, you're right. They didn't even address it. They should have at least addressed it. But
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe it was part of his, clone troopers or his, those troopers with the jetpacks. But even then he said, it's not necessarily they're in Beskar. It was some sort of Beskar alloy, which was at the same material that was embedded in the side of the ship. It's a little messy, but that's, par for the course this season. That whole thing was a little messy. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else to say about this episode. And honestly, I just go ahead.
I got one random question for you because you guys are like original trilogy, like obsessed, right? You guys grew up and love that. Not, you know what I'm saying?
More me than Chris.
More Sean, yeah.
Yeah, but that was what you guys like. That's like the Clone series to me, Clone Wars to me. So R5, did you guys like seeing R5 kind of come in and do his thing? Or
I kind of liked R5. He grew on me definitely this episode, and he pulled the whole R2D2 shocking the mouse droid.
Yeah,
I kind of enjoyed that. Then when they all came back, he kind of lifted up and kind of took off, kind of like a R2 or Chopper. Chopper's my guy.
Yeah.
As much as I like R2, Chopper's my guy.
I do love Chopper. I think it's hilarious that these astromech droids that literally just beep and boop and roll around can have such varying personalities. Because it's like R2's an OG, just like total hero and badass and knows self-assured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just making fun of 3PO and helping Luke and doing his thing. Even from the first time, timeline-wise, he was introduced, he was on Padme's ship and the last astromech to save and get them to hyperspace. Right, like he's just total G as far as astromech droids. Then you got Chopper, who knows his stuff, but he's also just like rude and like a total asshole.
He's such an ass, and I love it.
Yeah, and like you never know what he's saying, but
if he's gonna help or he's gonna screw you over. Yeah,
him and Zeb's relationship is great.
Yeah, and just his design and stuff, and it feels like he's always like flipping everybody off with his little thing he's kind of twisting around. Yeah, and then R5, I like that they gave him a personality too. He's kind of the scaredy cat. He's the one where it's like it's a big effort for him to do anything because he's like the scared astromech that doesn't want to get into it. Yeah, he's C-3PO in an astromech droid.
Yeah,
and it even makes sense, like his appearance in A New Hope. Like maybe his motivator burst because it made it burst because he was scared to go with Luke or something. Or it's like anything as far as personality wise for these little droids. I thought it was cool. I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I had no problem. I enjoyed it. I didn't like the idea of how they got him, but once he became a part of the team, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
I don't think so. As far as I thought the little Looney Tunes outro where the iris like zoomed in and on them was kind of strange. Strange editing choice, honestly.
I would rather have seen Grogu eat the frog. Because I enjoyed the frog eating and the egg eating and all that stuff that everyone was like, I thought it was funny.
I love that ending. I mean, they're Western, screams Western. They got a cabin on a prairie somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
He's got his feet kicked up, arms crossed, just chilling, and then the kids playing in the pond with the frog. I love that scene.
It also screamed the calm before the storm. A lot of times you're sitting down there, you relax, everything's great, and then something tragic happens.
Right.
So it also I had that feeling to it as well. So I guess we'll got to see where they go from there.
When is the other shoe going to drop? That kind of thing. Like everything's good now. Just wait.
Yep. IG-11 goes crazy.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that. He's the new Marshal of Navarro.
That was so stupid. That's why we didn't mention it. I'm so. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'll stop.
I just thought it was strange to I thought maybe he would be a permanent fixture for Grogu. Like he would.
That's what I thought. I thought Mando would be selfish and be like, "Hey, I've got my other sidekick. Boom."
Yeah, or like Grogu has added abilities now, and he can hang a little bit more with when I'm doing adventures and stuff. But no, they just they just get rid of it. Get rid of that concept.
Yeah. Bye. I know I had no problem. The yes no thing. Yes. Okay. That was pretty funny. But
Yeah.
as him having his own I don't know.
Look, he'd be pretty once because we saw Grogu new to the outfit. You know what I mean? So he was just kind of bumbling and stumbling around. Give Grogu a couple of years in that thing to get him really proficient. And imagine like, an IG-88 assassin droid with the use of the Force with Mandalorian gadgets. Like, I mean, that's pretty formidable, but they just kind of got rid of it. And I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Just a means to an end. That's all it really was.
That's all it was. And I don't even know what it was for. I guess he was able to get to Din Djarin easier at the beginning of this episode, maybe.
Another thing I just popped in my head too, like they could have gone one way was, Chris, when Grogu was trapped in the room with the 3 guards, we had that whole magical scene and really like emotional scene when Grogu was given the, I don't know what you call it, the plate over his chest from the armor. Why not have a scene like a Frodo scene where they're hitting him with something, or maybe
all kind of
Moff Gideon shoots him and everyone's like, oh! And then because I don't think Din even knows that the armor gave it to him unless he's changed diapers.
What a great call! You're right. See, Christopher, there's like a handful of those things that was like, oh, that would have been nice if they would have had a call back to that.
Yeah, you guys got me thinking now.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's just the writing of it. It just felt too rushed. Like I don't mind where they went with the season. I just could have used a little bit more and to tie up some of those loose ends.
They didn't want to overshadow Ahsoka. They wanted Ahsoka to be the big one this year versus
Mando. So they gave us like a C- level Mandalorian, so that way
we'll get the unedited, uncut version for years.
So they gave us a subpar Mandalorian. Ahsoka is gonna look great.
Yeah. That's why we had that crappy Lizzo Jack Black episode during the Star Wars Celebration week.
The droid bar.
I'm gonna remember it forever.
You'll remember it forever.
Jack Black in the same week. Jack Black was promoting him being Bowser in Super Mario, and that he was on the Mandalorian. Like he was just riding high that week, man.
He tried to like Pedro Pascal. He's trying to do all the big things.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, you and I don't think there's much left to say about this season as a whole or this particular episode, other than, I mean, we'll be back. What's the next step? Well, the next show for sure is going to be Ahsoka, right?
Yes.
That comes out in August so far, unless it's pushed back further. Yeah.
I've got no idea.
We know that Andor season 2 is in production. We know that the Skeleton Crew is actually in post-production. It's already been shot and it's in post-production, but that's looking like 2024. And we know the Acolyte is on the way.
I'm looking forward to the Acolyte.
Me too.
Dude. I think the Acolyte's going to be the new Mandalorian. I really do. I think it's going to be that good.
I can't wait to see like stuff outside of our typical post-original trilogy time frame here. Like it'll be nice to go back and see stuff that's pre-Phantom Menace. Like that's going to be neat. But yeah, until then, we're going to be here covering that stuff. We are Star Wars fans through and through here on Dadnarok. We want to thank Christopher for joining us tonight to talk about the Mandalorian finale. Of course, we are going to be continuing our coverage of Ted Lasso, the final season of that. We just covered episode 6 this week, and of course, we'll be back Wednesday evening to talk episode 7. Great season of that so far. That's right. Yeah. Good season of Ted Lasso so far. So join us for that. And until next time, I don't know. This is the way.
I guess this is the way.
This is the way. Yeah.
We'll see.